Comic creators, your new crowdfunding launch sidekick is here. The comic book crowdfunding planner from ComixLaunch is your ultimate step-by-step companion to planning, optimizing, and executing your crowdfunding campaign, helping hardworking creators stay organized, execute with confidence, and maximize success on every launch.
Hey, I'm Tyler James, publisher of Comics Tribe and host of the ComixLaunch podcast,
which has been helping comic creators launch successful crowdfunding campaigns for nearly a decade. In that time, I've seen the same struggles come up again and again. Making a great comic, but no idea where to start with crowdfunding it, overwhelm at all the steps to launch, and fear of missing something important, exhaustion during the campaign, and struggling with the emotional roller coaster of launching.
and finishing the campaign and still being unsure what worked, what didn't, and how to get better results the next time. If any of those challenges sound familiar,
You are not alone, and it's not your fault. Crowdfunding a comic requires a completely different skill set than making one. The good news is I have something that can help. To celebrate the 10th anniversary of ComixLaunch, I've distilled years of my own crowdfunding experience and the insights of hundreds of amazing guests I've had on the show into one essential tool. This new comic book crowdfunding planner is really 4 powerful books in one, designed to help during every phase of your launch. First, it's a launch planner, providing a step-by-step roadmap including guided templates and battle-tested ComixLaunch exercises to build a winning campaign. Second, it's an execution checklist, including action items and pro tips for every aspect of your project so you can launch with confidence. Third, it's a daily campaign journal with dedicated pages to track your campaign progress each day of your launch, prioritize your daily promotional activities, and stay in command of your project. And fourth, it's a post-launch debrief with a proven post-mortem process to capture what worked, what didn't, and what you'll improve on so that your next launch is even better. The Comic Book Crowdfunding Planner is perfect for first-time Kickstarter creators who want a clear roadmap from start to funded.
When it comes to running a Kickstarter, I never thought I could do it until I started using Tyler's tools and tips and tricks.
I have raised over $40,000 US. Everything I have launched has been done using the ComixLaunch tools. It's been the backbone of my success as a creator.
Experienced crowdfunders who want to refine and optimize their launch processes and get to that next level of funding success.
I've raised over $30,000 on Kickstarter. I wouldn't have been able to accomplish this without ComixLaunch. Tyler's guides have made it an effortless and stress-free process.
Tailor-made specifically for comic book creators, writers, artists, and publishers looking to streamline their campaigns and optimize their crowdfunding efforts.
The ability to break down the daunting task of running a Kickstarter into small, well-defined, achievable tasks gave me the confidence to finally launch a campaign.
I really needed an instruction manual, and that is exactly what Tyler gave me.
Perfect for anyone who has struggled with crowdfunding overwhelm and could use a physical tool to help focus before, during, and after your launch.
The timing of finding Tyler and his work was perfect for me because I didn't know what I was doing.
What helped me was getting access to all of the tools that Tyler puts together.
6 campaigns raised about almost $27,000, and I can honestly say I wouldn't have had anywhere near the success without ComixLaunch.
The tools included in Tyler James' planner were essential to getting the ball rolling for me.
Everything I know about running Kickstarters I learned from ComixLaunch.
Finally, it's for all the thousands of ComixLaunch listeners who have been asking for a resource like this for nearly a decade. For rewards, the new planner is available in a number of formats. A beautiful physical planner with a durable faux leather cover, digital PDF version with ready-to-print pages, and discounted multi-pack bundles for creators and publishers with many project launches on the horizon. All backers will be thanked by name on the ComixLaunch podcast, and there's limited show sponsorship opportunities available. I'm also opening my schedule for a few one-on-one crowdfunding coaching and mentorship opportunities, and you can also get access to some of the ComixLaunch Pro courses during this campaign.
Let's make your next launch the best one ever.
Back the Comic Book Crowdfunding Planner today, and I can't wait to see what you launch next.
Prepare to launch in 3, 2, 1.
All right. Hello. Welcome, everyone, to today's live stream. I have a great panel queued up and ready to roll for you today. They're hanging out in the back streets of Comics Launch, and I'll be bringing them on in just a bit. I appreciate them taking the time to hang with us, and this is going to be a fun conversation that we have. Roy Johnson's here, Sam Johnson's here, Ben Lacy is here. I'm excited to dive into it. But first, we're going to just do a little table setting. We're going to share a few updates on the Comics Launch comic book crowdfunding planner launch, which is here on day 17 with 8 days to go. And I'm going to thank some backers. I'm going to provide a daily launch lesson, and then we're going to dive in and transition into a great conversation with 3 creators that have a lot of experience under their belt with building worlds, launching series, doing spin-offs. And so there's a lot of things that we can talk about. But first, I want to just start by thanking more backers. We are over 452% funded, over $15,800 raised, and we are over 425 backers now. So I'm still working through my backer list, and I'm up to number 300 at the end of this. So let me thank Ross Bamfield, Mike Mitchell, Stephen E. Gordon, David Jones, Alan Silverwood, Pop Skull Press, Sean Lee, Fishley, Mookins 17, Burning Spear Comics, Moana, and that crew. Sorry, we have David Hedgecock, D.V. Cole, Brian Beardsley, Trojanzer, Scratch Comics, Paul Milligan, Sebastian Chow, Ryan Jenkins, Richard Goulart, Fried Comics folks, Andrew Lemon, Cecil Lammy, Babylina Comis, Chris G, James the Great Old One Burke, Andrew Floyd, Art Shawn, Chris Johnson, Joshua O'Neill, Jordan McLean, Omar Khan, Reed Hinckley Barnes, Minarex, Joe Bagden, Big Tim Styles, what's up, Big Tim down under, Edwin J. Florney Jr., the Artsy Made Cafe Committee, Evan Black, Brandon Nichols, Toon Baboon, and Punchy Ninja. Love the names. It's a nice cross-section of creators, publishers, and folks that are back in the Kickstarter. So I want to thank everyone that's taken the time to support this project. I promised a personalized thank you to each and every backer that are supporting this campaign. And so I'm going to continue to work through this list. We're closing in, but we're up to 427. Still a lot of time. Who knows? Maybe we'll even get to 500 before the campaign is over. And if 500 backers means anywhere close to 500 projects that are helped by this planner, then I will feel really great about that. All right. Today's tip of the day is a powerful one. This could have been the very first tip that I gave, but this is an important one, and that is to join and engage the comic book crowdfunding community. And there's a lot of reasons why you want to do this, but it's important to know and understand that Kickstarter is not just a platform or a place to sell your stuff. It's actually a community. And your success on the platform in many ways will be tied to your connection to that community and how you show up in that community. And so getting support, visibility, and momentum throughout your campaign and then maintaining it can be related to how active you are in the community that you are trying to participate in. The golden rule, we've all seen it. The golden rule that applies to creator crowdfunders can be to do for other creators what you'd love them to do for you. And I've definitely seen this play out for so many. And so some of the basic, are you a member of the comics crowdfunding community checklist would look something like this. Do you back Kickstarter projects in your genre? Do you share other creators' campaigns? Do you comment and engage with creators? And do you study other campaigns like yours? If you are doing this, then you're probably already an active part of the comics crowdfunding community. And you know what? If you're checking out this podcast or this YouTube, or you're hanging out on our Facebook page, you're probably already somewhat engaged in comic creator communities. But these are just some things to keep in mind that will hopefully make sure that it's clear that you know what's going on Kickstarter, and Kickstarter knows what you're up to. Not only does supporting other creators' projects and engaging with other creators' projects do great for them and make them feel good, it will make you feel good as well. And as a backer, having the experience of a backer, you're going to gain some insights as to what other backers experience firsthand. I don't know how many times I've had conversations with creators that are like, Tyler, I want to get into this comics crowdfunding thing. I want to launch a Kickstarter for my own project. And I'll tell you, whenever a creator tells me that and then shares like a really huge project goal that they're thinking, or has like a massive ambitious project, inevitably I ask them, hey, how many projects have you backed on Kickstarter? Oftentimes the answer is 0. And so the less experience they have from the backer's side will really harm their ability to make that first launch just really as good as it can be. Having the experience of a backer will make you a better project launcher. Also, there is a real power of reciprocity that kicks in. People that see other creators going to bat for other projects or sharing other projects is something that can be incredibly powerful and attractive for other creators, and it makes other creators want to share your stuff. And so many you will not be surprised to see that many of the creators that are often launching on Kickstarter also have big projects backed follower accounts and are also regularly talking up other creators. They kind of go hand in hand. A couple of ways that you can engage, obviously, with the comic book crowdfunding community. This is a community that I've tried to lean into, and I'm speaking from experience. And that's why I've been doing the podcast weekly for over 500 episodes. And so that's one way that I've sort of been giving back to this community, and it's definitely helped me tremendously. I also want to shout out the work that Kevin Laporte is doing over at his Substack, The Comics Crowd. If you want a cheat sheet to know what's going on in the comics category on Kickstarter, Kevin is doing all of the research and analysis for you and summarizing it in his Substack. So I would definitely recommend you subscribe to him if you want to know and keep your finger right on the pulse of what's going in the comics crowdfunding community. Shout out to Kevin. But again, this matters in a lot of ways because it's an opportunity for you to actually build real relationships. So many of the creators that I have engaged with, many of them I've never met in person, but these connections that you make with other creators by supporting their projects, by sharing feedback, by engaging in comic book crowdfunding communities can lead to things like professional relationships, sharing tables at conventions, doing crossover promotions. Real relationships are built from engaging in these communities, and the connections that creators have made through ComixLaunch Pro is probably the most rewarding thing. Just when I see other creators that, oh, hey, these two guys are two creators have met during in this community, and now they're going off and working on a project together, or they're meeting up at conventions, or it's just, it really is powerful stuff. And I love to see it. You will also expand your audience when you do this. Comics has a strong word of mouth culture, and engaged creators will often, cross promote and talk up each other's stuff. And so that can really help you get on the radar of other creators that might not otherwise be already in your network. A shout out, a recommendation, a back from a creator that you're already trusting does good work will rub off on you as well. So also, as I said, open you up to new opportunities. I've seen so many creators get invited to be a part of anthologies or discover projects or discover cover work for artists that are active in these communities. And you never know. You never know what is possible when you are connected to other talented people that are regularly launching projects. But chances are there's going to be some new opportunities or some new opportunities for you to engage in this broader community that you might never discover had you just been focused on your own stuff. And then when you're also active in doing this, you're going to learn faster. Being a part of a community gives you real-time insights into trends, backer preferences, what's working on campaigns, etc. So a lot of reasons why being a part of the community matters. The Comics Launch Planner has been designed to try to make sure that you keep this in mind. There's some community building checklists built into, the checklist that you want to do even before you launch your project. We also have promotion partnership planner built in to help you engage that Kickstarter community and make sure that you're getting your message in front of the right people throughout the launch. And so, in short, don't be the creator who only shows up when it's launch time. Invest in the comics crowdfunding community year round, and it's going to return the favor when it is time for you to jump on and launch your project. All right, in just a second, I'm going to bring on my guests, but I also wanted to open up and make sure people know about the opportunity to come chat with me during one of these streams. If you go to comixlaunch.com/invite, you can book a time and come out and have a conversation with me about you, your projects, your insights. It'll be fun to hang. Also, as I bring on my guests today, if there are questions, if there are topics, if you want to chime in, let's make this interactive. If you're watching this on the replay or if you're watching us live, feel free to share comments and we will definitely try to address anything that you want to hear us talk about. But without further ado, it's time to bring on this crew of talent. What's up, gentlemen? We have Roy Johnson, Sam Johnson, and Ben Lacy in the house today. And I'm going to give you each quick introductions. I'm going to give you the opportunity to share a little bit about what you are working on, and then we'll dive in and sort of have an open conversation. But first up, I want to introduce you all to Roy Johnson. Roy is a technical professional with a lifelong love of superheroes, and he basically has been building out an entire universe of his heroes over the past, I don't know, nearly a decade of launching now, Roy. It's coming up on that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, the Sentinels is sort of his flagship series. But what can you tell us about the launch that you have going on right now, Roy?
So this is for the 11th issue of the Sentinels, which is like a Justice League of America or Avengers kind of superhero comic that's got updated public domain superheroes and my own original ones. It's done in sort of a Bronze Age style. So if you imagine yourself at the newsstand in the early 80s, going to the comic rack and pulling something out, this is kind of what you'd see. The color palette is kind of the 1980s DC color guide sort of a thing. So that's kind of the look of it. And like I said, so this is the 11th issue. The previous 10 are available as part of this thing. There's been a trade paperback of the first 6 issues, and once issue 12 is done, there'll be a trade of that as well. This campaign they've sold out 4 slots for backers supervillains, which are these guys in yellow, green, blue, and orange or whatever they are. There's also art commissions, so if you want to have your character drawn by Fish or Lee Gaston or Cody Conyers, that's available as well. And I think the characters in the book are sold out. Characters in the backers are sold out, but there's still plenty of other rewards available.
Yeah, and that's one of those cool pledge levels that you offer that you haven't seen a ton of. We've seen backer cameos or where backers can be a cameos in books as kind of a common pledge. But I think one of the things that you recognized was that there's a lot of people out there that like creating characters, but might not necessarily be able to go all in on doing full comic books. So the ability to have people's characters that they've created maybe in a game or in a RPG style character that they've come up with, or just in their own sketchbooks, to be able to have them inserted into a full comic book is probably like a dream come true for many creators, which knowing that they're never going to actually would never be able to do a full comic themselves. I think that's kind of a cool thing that you were able to identify as something that you could offer. And clearly if you sold out already at $200 Canadian a piece, that's a good campaign booster right there, right?
And from their perspective, I guess it's kind of like a plug and play, right? Like, you've created the character, all you've got to do is provide that reference to the artist, and we've already got you in the book. And because this officially was on, I think, your Monday session, and so this is all drawn digitally, right? So there's those orange and blue and yellow and green guys. They're just on a layer that can be popped out, and whatever your character is, they can be drawn in, and they're part of the action for a few pages, and obviously the cover. So, and I guess by virtue, I don't really think of it this way, but by virtue of being published, you're sort of getting a public, like a copyright, trademark kind of thing on it, because you created it. Obviously you retain a copyright, but because it's in the book, I can say credit copyright 2025 to so-and-so, and you kind of got that, as well as the appearance in the book, right? So
yeah, that's fun. That's definitely fun.
Because like you say, not everybody is going to make a comic book. That's
yeah, it's one thing to come up with a character. It's a whole other thing to build out whole stories for them. We'll talk more about just engaging backers for the long haul series and things like that. But I want to bring on also and introduce Sam Johnson, who is here. Sam, no relation as far as I know. But Sam is the creator and writer of Geek Girl and Cabrasini Voodoo Junkie Hitwoman, and he is currently has a new series called Gold Town, which is on Kickstarter, which I believe is a spin-off from his broader universe. Sam, welcome back to Comics Launch. It's good to have you here. How you doing, man?
All right, thank you for having me. How are you doing?
Hanging in there. Talk to us about Gold Town. This is a zero issue for a new series or a new title from you. It's always good to see something new, but tell us about this one.
Okay, so it's part of Geek Girl is my ongoing series. It's part of the Geek Girl universe. So this isn't a series. This is it's just a zero issue. But the characters in it, their adventures will continue in Geek Girl. So there's going to be a Gold Town arc coming up. So it's got that sort of crossover thing. But to give you what it is, it's a wannabe starlet with secret power, a third-rate sorcerer turned stage magician, a father who's lost his daughter and down on his luck, pimp in Toledo, also known as Gold Town, a Hollywood upside-down place where the bizarre and paranormal reside, and the route to making it is a dark one, and that's the high concept.
Okay, great. And this is your 16th launch, 17th launch, 18th launch? Yeah. And so one of the things that you've done that I think is interesting is you sort of have your core brand, Geek Girl, but you've also identified some, there are other stories that you want to tell, and then are also trying to play around with spin-offs and setups to find different angles at drawing people in. I want to, there's some things that I want to talk about related to some of that. But before I do that, I also want to bring in Ben Lacy, who is here with us. If you don't know Ben, well, you should. He has now 14 Kickstarters under his belt, is the creator of Shark of War, The Vicious Vixens of Dakuwanga, The Cthulhu Man, and also his latest launch is live right now is Samson Escape from Auschwitz. And we have the first 2 issues of this series. What can you tell us about this series, Ben?
Hey, yeah, Samson is based on is about two young boys, twins, who wind up in Auschwitz and are experimented on by the Nazis. This is a thing that actually happened, but of course this is a superhero comic book. So in this universe, the Nazis are using them as guinea pigs to try and make a super soldier. And so it covers his time as a boy, getting his powers. At the same time, it goes to the end of the Cold War when he discovers that at least one of these Nazi super soldiers may still be out there and alive. So as an adult person, he has to then try and track that person down. So issue 2 is, this is issues 1 and 2. In issue 2, we see his attempt to escape from Auschwitz. And in issue 2, we also see the follow-up to his battle with this Nazi super soldier dubbed the Uberfuhrer, that happened in post-Cold War when new information came out due to the fall of the Berlin Wall about where these people were. This is also somewhat based on real events. The trial of John Denjonik, I'm not pronouncing that right, and the Eichmann capture and trial in Israel as well. Of course, again, this is a superhero universe, so it's a Nazi super criminal. As you saw from the page, if you go to the top of the page, you'll see that everybody can read issue 1. If you just scroll down a little bit, everybody can read issue 1 for free. You can just click on that link; it'll pop right up, and you can read issue 1 and see if you like it. Just gonna give it away, and I'm hoping people like it enough that they'll want to back it.
Yeah.
Everybody also get a print of that Alex Ross style inspired cover print that backs a physical copy. And of course, we have a base cover which was inspired by the All-Star Superman cover, which that Quitely did with Lois Lane there. Of course, that's not the relation to him and the Omega Girl. We also have a Jack Kirby inspired cover from his escape from Auschwitz, where he's being chased down by a giant gorilla, Nazi gorilla, and then
the worst kind of gorilla.
and then a Superman inspired cover, because we did one last issue, we had to do one this issue. Yeah. Very much in that same style with a few critical differences. Here we see him returning to Israel for the trial of the Uberfuhrer, and here's more from the escape from Auschwitz. Here's some reviews.
Yeah, it's a good looking book, a good looking page, and I think playing with similar nostalgia vibes that Roy's standard universe tries to play with in terms of doing homage, but also creating something new. And so definitely has the superhero appeal. And so, what's kind of fun for me during for these live stream discussions that I've been having around the planner is that I sort of, for the first time, I just kind of opened up an invite, had multiple chairs open and multiple seats open, and let people pick in. In the past, most of my interviews are like curated and things like that. But now it's sort of like I'm shuffling decks of creators, and creators are jumping in. But what's interesting about this panel is that we essentially have a panel of people, of creators that are very interested in the superhero subcategory of Kickstarter and are launching superhero projects. All three of you are doing serializing and sort of doing issue by issue, eventually collecting, but most of your launches have been serialized. And then all three of you have done spin-offs from sort of your main IPs and then core IPs and things like that, and have different titles that you're launching. And so and then obviously the fourth thing, you all have been a part of the ComixLaunch Pro community for years, and we appreciate that as well. But it's just kind of interesting that you all self-selected and yet joined this conversation. So there's some things that we can talk about and have a good conversation around. I guess I want to talk about serializing on Kickstarter. What have you learned about that, and what tips do you have for creators in terms of trying to figure out, like, if they're trying to figure out, all right, how much should I launch? Like how big a story chunk is worth launching on a Kickstarter? And then how do I keep people coming back or split the difference between bringing existing backers back and then also appealing to new ones? Maybe start with Roy. Anything that you want to share as a tip or something that you've learned in trying to do that?
Geez, I don't know. Most of my books are sort of one and done, but there's stuff happening in the background that will arc through. Ultimately, I've got 3 sets of 6 books that I'm hoping to put out. One thing is, I guess if you're from a title perspective in your Kickstarter, you want to say the Sentinels 1 through 11 as opposed to 11. Because 1 through 11 tells you obviously it's a series, it's had this many issues, and it implies that they're all available in the Kickstarter, right? So you want to have a back issue availability of the previous issues because not everybody is jumping on at the same time. And that's kind of what I've done. I think that was some suggestion from ComixLaunch. But basically you're creating the series from scratch, so modern audiences don't want to come in at issue 170. They want to come in at issue 1.
Yeah. And that was something that you actually tried, like your concept of this.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Well, yeah, I'd issued. So before I started doing comics, I was commissioning comic art, and I made up this team, the Sentinels. I was like, oh, okay, they would have came out around the same time the Justice League and the Avengers did in '62. So issue 1 was 1962. Well, if we were releasing books from the early 80s, they'd be on 267 by now. So my first book was called 267, and the next issue was 268. And I had feedback that it was confusing to people, and I was digging my heels in about, oh, it's not that hard. You go to the newsstand in the 80s and blah, blah, blah. But,
yeah,
it was seen as a barrier to entry, so I just switched it to as if it had been maybe rebooted at issue 1.
Yeah.
So we're that, because people, you want to come in fresh without, as a backer, you want to come in fresh without the idea that, oh, I've got to study a bunch of history and da 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 da. So, and I guess it was legitimately confusing to some people. So that was kind of a lesson learned. Within the books, it'll go blah, 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 star, caption, star, see Sentinels issue 112 or whatever, implying in universe there's a history to these characters. And from a real world publishing perspective, it seems, because they used to do that back in the day in the 80s. It'd always be, see the Avengers 123 for the origins of this story. And it just sort of fills out the universe with the implication there's a history of these characters, but in reality, you're on the first issue, right? So that was kind of a lesson learned there. Keep it simple because people are just clicking by. Boop, 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 boop. Nobody's.
Yeah. I know we have a range of ages in terms of the creators that are on this panel right now. Sam, you probably have the babiest face among us. I'm curious, have you ever had the experience of buying a comic off a rack?
I am older than I look. This is it's not. You're not. It's only a few years ago that I stopped getting ID'd, and I'm way older than ID age. But yes, I have. Yeah, I mean, as a kid, I used to buy I don't know if this is any different from how it is in America, but my local shop would have a stack of the Marvel comics for you to just go through, and I would buy almost all of them. I enjoyed that. I still have dreams about that. I don't know what that means, but I like that.
It's an interesting thing because Roy, as you said, if you were growing up in the 80s and you were interested in comics or you want to get into comics, that was sort of your experience. It's like, well, for me, Spider-Man is here. Well, there's issue. Spider-Man's on issue 295, and growing up,
it must be good, right?
Yeah. Oh, it would be great, and they would do great they would do great things at finding reasons for you to be able to feel like we could jump in and just start reading at this point. But I do remember in the back of my head always like feeling that it was a frustration that I knew that no matter what I did, I would never be able to read all of Spider-Man. And I also then remember when the Image universe started, and when I first discovered Image, like they had a handful of titles and they were on issue like 2 or 3. And I'm like, wait a minute, I can get all of this and I can jump in on the very ground floor. And a massive amount of my dollars shifted towards these new number ones or this jumping on floor or jumping on events. And that probably went away from the Marvels and DCs, which I believe Marvel and DC ultimately saw and then got into the, well, you know, rather than
reboot.
Yeah, let's relaunch, let's reboot, let's collect those number $1. And I think a big part of that was because audiences had other options for clean jumping on points. I'm curious, Ben, you know, as someone that has a couple of books that have been serialized, but also tried some spin-offs and do some things, like what has your approach been in order of you know, deciding how big a book or how much of the story you want to launch with, and then how do we try to keep backers coming back?
Almost every one of my books is you know, is a multiple, you know, it's an extended story, so it's not a one and done, except for the Cthulhu Man was kind of one and done. But Shark of War, the first, you know, it kind of a multiple issue story with a story arc that covered the first 5 issues, for example. But the end of issue 5 clearly led into the next story arc for issue 6. Samson, you know, I tried to have, you know, a complete chapter for issue 1, but it ends on a cliffhanger, you know, a classic cliffhanger as he faces a villain, you know, an enemy at the very end of the issue to you know, to have you come back. So I'm usually trying to do the classic approach of having a complete chapter, but having each issue end with a bit of a cliffhanger, so you're ready for the next issue. Issue 2 is similar, you know, it also will end on a bit of a cliffhanger, but you kind of get a complete subchapter to that story for that issue.
Nice. Yeah. Atlantic Sci-Fi Expo tuning in says we're babies. We guys are young. We're young. And that he was getting comics from the local convenience store.
Yeah. Sorry, but you're not the only. He's not the only one.
He's not the only one. Yeah.
I was old enough to get comics in the 70s at a convenience store.
Yeah. And I guess that's, you know, it's one of those things where I do wonder, you know, fast forward 20, 30 years, like what the common, you know, like where's the next generation of comics coming from, and what are their expectations going to be? I've done a couple of like old school or a couple of comic book conventions recently, or that I've been to, that, you know, do have a big like backlist presence, or I've been sort of next to vendors that primarily focus on selling, you know, the golden age, and have people coming there to complete their runs and things. But it's just kind of a different, it's definitely a different beast than what a lot of creators like us do, where we're trying to pitch people on specific series and specific ideas and a small number of them, as opposed to, hey, I've got all this stuff, come rifle through it and see if you can find something that you want. Completely different just approach to everything.
Well, I'm trying to, you know, in my reward tiers, I'm trying to really, you know, get people to look at my back catalog. And I give, if you look at the reward tier, I'm basically giving as low a price as I can for if anybody gets the non-issue 2 of Samson books, because all the back catalog books are basically what I'm selling them for at a Comic-Con, but you get them delivered to you. You get all the stretch goals. Yeah, if you go down to the $75 one. Yeah, I kind of did the math that it's the base cover. Yeah, the base cover, you know, is $15, and then all the other covers are $5 each for the floppies, and then the hardcover is $20. So you not only do you get, that's what I sell at the Comic-Con for, but you're getting it delivered. You get all the digital copies, and you get the print and any other stretch goals we happen to hit. So I really want, I'm willing to give up price on my back catalog just to encourage people to buy. But
yeah,
it's a hard sell for new people who
those are the impulse buys at the grocery store, right? You get to the checkout counter, and here's the chocolate bars. Oh, I better grab a couple of those because I need more sugar. And you get the back issues conveniently, right? So they don't have to go through to another platform to go buy stuff, and right, it's convenient right there.
Yeah, I guess this is one of those things where I wrestle with when I do my comic Kickstarters as well, in terms of with reward stuff for serialized stuff, because like at conventions, what I've found is if you have let's say you've got 4 issues of a series that's done, there's like sort of 3 kinds of people that you were potentially hoping to sell to, people that have never discovered this. And for those people, you're either trying to sell them the first issue, or hopefully they buy everything. They go all in. And then there's also the people that have, maybe saw you last convention and they just need the new issue. And so it's like either they're going to buy issue 1, issue the last issue, maybe it's 4, or they're going to buy them all. And obviously from a sales perspective, the more people that we can get to buy them all, the better. But a lot of like this is an issue 2, Sentinels issue 11. A lot of people are coming in, and the Kickstarter sort of way is like, all right, the first thing or the lowest price thing is going to be the new issue. And then you'll scroll down and there'll be a catch-up tier somewhere in there. What are your thoughts on having a low price number 1 also as a pledge level? Because I'm asking that because I'm thinking about, are we potentially losing people if a new backer, if their only option is to get the catch-up tier at, which is an investment, or a higher than just the average Kickstarter pledge often, or to buy the new issue if they don't already have the first issue?
Well, for me, like on this Kickstarter, the issue 1, issue 2 is the $15, base cover.
Yeah.
Issue 1 you can get for $6 more as a combined tier. And like I said, I'm giving away the digital of issue 1, so people can just read it. I wasn't really thinking of having a separate tier for just issue 1 as a hardcover, because you still got to pay shipping on that, and that alone is like $5 at least for sending off one comic.
Yeah, and I guess I would also say this might actually be something that's, when it's you're 2 issues in, the difference between, or when you're 2 issues in, you can offer issues 1 and 2 for like a sub $25 pledge in most cases, right? But when you're where Roy is, like, you really can't sell issues 1 through 11 in physical format for less than a dollar amount that is, well above what the average pledge is on Kickstarter. And so what are your thoughts on that, Roy? Like, have you considered or do you worry that maybe there are some people coming in and being like, all right, well, I'm new to this, I'm not going to get issue 11. And they scroll down and they find out, or actually, I'm not sure is there a catch-up tier on here? On your campaign?
I don't even remember, to be honest with you. There could be. I think there should be a PDF and one, and nope, I guess not. I might stick it in there.
Maybe
honestly, like in my previous ones, in add-ons, you can get each individual issue. I don't know if
Okay.
I've got a.
Yeah.
So the way that I guess the way I view a Kickstarter as a platform is, here is the latest issue that you are helping to bring to life.
Yeah.
Also available is previous stuff, right? So I typically, maybe I'll add those tiers. I'll have like a catch-up tier where you get all the books as PDF, or you get all the books as hard copy for, almost not at cost or anything like that. But if you compare the prices of the new one, it's like $17 Canadian or whatever it is, which is 15 or 12. I don't know. The exchange rate sucks. And then the older ones are less expensive, right? So I guess I'm viewing it as a Kickstarter help create this newest issue.
Mm-hmm.
That's, as a creative endeavor. And the other ones are already done, and they're available either as individual add-ons or in a bundle or whatever. It's a balance of, you're trying to sell your back. Well, I don't have back stock because it's print on demand, but you're trying to also, I guess the larger thing is, you're trying to sell the series. You're not just trying to, here is the latest. Well, that's nice, but what is it the latest of? It's an ongoing series that is about this. It should appeal to you because XYZ. And by the way, here's the back issues that are available. So I typically price those, I'm lazy, so I use a multiplier. I go by, like, if the print cost is $2, then I would sell a new one for 4 times that or something, and an old one at twice that, just because, I just stick it in the spreadsheet. So the other issues are lower priced, because these are not, I'm not selling Action Comics #1. Oh, I'll put that at $1 million because it's a collector's item. Like, they're stuff that's already in existence. So I view them as a lower cost, I guess, is how I do it.
Yeah, I hear that. Sam, thoughts? I know you've also it seems like you've made an effort with your Geek Girl launches over the past, is to really make sure that this feels like an opportunity for people to jump on board and get in from the ground floor, even though the series has been around for many years now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to do a lot of things along those lines. To answer your question, though, I've brought up the last Kickstarter where I had an issue 1 available on it as its own reward. So just to be clear, excuse me, you're talking about having issue 1 and nothing else available, and are you talking about having a cheaper than its regular price?
Yeah, I guess the question that I just have is, for series that have been around a while, like, for example, we have Sync. The next issue launched will be issue 16. It's hard for me to justify or to offer up a full series catch up for that, even if I just do $5 a pop. Well, that's still, you're looking at what, $90, $80, even if it was just like bare bones $5 a pop, which is, 3 times the average pledge on Kickstarter, which, if the only choice to get in on the ground floor is that $80 pledge or jump in at issue 16, is that something that new readers, people that aren't already on board are going to be comfortable with? And so whether or not, having, hey, here's the first issue, it's kind of its own thing, is that a smart move? Or are you, or would you potentially be losing out on people that might, otherwise jump in and just say, hey, this really looks cool, forget it, even though, like, I might rather spend $5 to just test it out. It looks cool enough, I'm going to take a chance on it, and I'm going to spend 80. I don't know. I don't know exactly what the right answer is, but
I assume you have a digital tier that's a lot less for all your issues. So that's
I mean, both of those things you're saying, Tyler, I think are valid. As I say, I bought up the last Kickstarter I had in issue 1. Now, as its own reward. Now, I try to do 2 issues at a time when I do a Kickstarter because international shipping is very expensive, but the difference in price to ship 2 books versus 1 is not a lot. So if you break it down on what you're paying for shipping per issue, if you're getting 2 together, it's a lot less than if you're paying 1. So I'm looking at where I've had Geek Girl 1 available digitally and as a regular edition. Now, the regular edition got like 3 backers. The digital got 16. So that says to me, it was worth having the digital. Now, the regular, it's the problem. And this is because this had I believe, a $2.99 price tag. So the shipping cost is far, far greater than the actual comic, which to me is off-putting. I mean, I with Gold Town Zero, because there's no issue 1 or 2 to go with it. The only way to do it in a launch was as issue 0. And to me, when I see people backing just that, because you can back Geek Girl stuff on it as well, and you can get the digital. But when people buy just the regular edition, that's a lot to pay in shipping. This is my biggest reservation about that kind of thing. There is also, as you said, someone having the opportunity to buy just issue 1, had they had the opportunity instead to buy the first trade, maybe they would have gone for that. And so you've missed out there by giving the option of just issue 1. And the way people binge things now with TV and so forth, I think a trade is a more pleasing reward. Having said all this, what you're talking about with Sync, where it's been going for a lot of issues, I've found when I've done collector's packs of Geek Girl, where you can get every single issue and also get the trade, as in get the trades. So one reward, you get all the single issues, another reward, you get all the trades. As the number of issues has got higher, the amount of people buying the collector's pack, where you're getting the individual issues, has got lower and lower and lower, to the point where it's negligible almost, the amount that are buying it. Whereas you will get people that will come on and buy all the trades from the beginning.
Are you sorry, are most of your backers returning backers or new backers?
I'd say most are returning.
So that's why they're buying the trade as opposed to the individual issues.
But I mean, I've had something I was surprised by with the last Geek Girl Kickstarter I did, which was for Volume 4 trade. I had backers that had bought the individual issues, in terms of returning backers, that had bought the individual issues, but then also bought the trade in the new Kickstarter, which wasn't something I was expecting.
Well, some people are just completists, right? They want to have all the stuff, right?
Sure.
I was just thinking, like, if you've got mainly returning backers, which is what I have, they've already got the individual issues, so they're not going to buy them, but they might wait around till a trade comes out, and then they're going to snap that up. So it's kind of like you have to, you're going to have to satisfy new backers and returning backers with different, sets. But can I ask a question? I know it's a little off topic, but
no, let's have a discussion,
Tyler?
man. Open it up. Let's make this valuable, because if you're thinking it's somebody else's, I guarantee it.
So Sam, you're obviously in the UK from your awesome, cool accent.
And my Yankees hat.
And his Yankees hat.
Yankees hat.
He knew he was
Yankees
coming on
cricket club.
He was coming on an American podcast, and he knows we Americans are now pretty feisty, and we need you to ingratiate yourself to us. So Sam is rocking the Yankees cap.
So, like, do you find, I guess, in the comics launch world, a lot of the people are based in the U.S., so the expectation is your backers are going to come from the United States. Are most of the money, I guess, not number of backers, but most of the money coming in from the UK or coming in from the US? Like, do you get a
US.
lot of international? US?
I get international. US is, I would say, the biggest chunk, and that's bigger than coming from the UK as well, significantly, I think.
Yeah. So, are you printing your comics in the UK and shipping them to the US?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I know I sound like a shill for Kablam, but like, there are print-on-demand companies in the US that will print them and ship them directly to the backers. Have you considered using that to lower your shipping costs, or are you putting a bunch of goodies in the?
Sorry, the line went a bit there.
I think he was wondering if you were throwing.
Or are you
extra...
are you stuff into the box that goes along with it? Like, I'm just thinking in terms of, like, that's my big bugaboo, is it costs so much to ship the damn things. Most of my backers from the US, so I'm not going to have it printed in the US, shipped to me so that I can have the privilege of opening the box and then moving the books into individual mailers and then mailing them back to the States. Like, that would drive the price up ludicrously. So I'm just wondering if you've considered printing and shipping from the US.
We did something with, coincidentally, this, which is Geek Girl Incoming, which is like basically a preview book, and it has a preview of Gold Town in it. There's Gold Town, and we did something with Kablam. My memory of it is a bit hazy in terms of what we actually did, but the thing is, I find, I don't know, but when I order a book from Kablam, as in my book, like a proof copy, because I have it on sale at Indie Planet, so I want to get a proof copy from Kablam and check that it's all good. It takes quite a while, so that to me is a bit of a barrier, and also not knowing exactly when people are going to be getting their books. Whereas if I'm sending them, I've got complete control over it. That's, I think, that's a bit of a barrier for me. As I say, I can't really remember what happened with that Geek Girl Incoming preview book, but I didn't do the same thing again. So I guess it didn't do quite what I wanted. Also,
it takes a while, I think, for them to set up.
And also the trades come, Marcosia as the publisher, I get the trades directly from them. So there's no option to have Kablam do the trades, because Kablam don't print the trades. So there's that as well.
Well, they can,
but that's not the deal with the publisher. The publisher, this Lightning something is
I see.
And that's it. Yeah. So all can come to me to combine to go out, but Kablam wouldn't be able to send the trades. But I think that the individual comics is something that I might look at again, because it could be worthwhile. One thing is, it seems to cost, when I look at prices, if I'm back in a Kickstarter, it seems to cost more to ship from the US to the UK than it does from the UK to the US for some reason. So I think I've got a slight advantage in terms of shipping costs being in the UK, going to the US versus the other way around.
And I think Roy,
I'm sorry, one other.
Oh, go ahead.
One other thing, if I could.
I was just going to say, Roy, like for someone in your case, I think you've done a great job as sort of like defining what your most important, what your non-negotiables are, right? Like early on, you're like, you know what? I want to spend next to no time packing and shipping and repackaging. I like spending my time creating the thing, and then the idea that I can send files to a printer and they'll take care of shipping all of those books out, like that that's what I want to do. And so you can make decisions on your campaign with those non-negotiables in mind. I think a lot of creators, they might come in and some of the things that really excite them about launching a Kickstarter might be the tchotchkes and the add-ons and the sign stuff and
Sure,
doing
yeah.
artist sketches and things like that. And so, you know, those are certain things that there's no right or wrong. It's just, here's the coming up with what the launch experience before, during, and after the campaign is, and getting clear on that may be the thing that determines what the right printer and approach is for you. And people's values are gonna, you know, be different. But you had something else you wanted to ask the group?
Well, I guess us on that line, obviously the UK can print comics. Does it have a comparable service where they will ship them directly to backers? Like if I send an order of, there's 20.
It's not, you know, it's not, I mean, it's not something I've particularly been, you know, sort of looking at. I mean, do you ship your Kickstarter awards from Kablam, directly ship them, do they?
Yes. Yeah.
And how long does it, for you to give them the comic, how long is it then before the backers receive their awards?
So I typically, from the time I place my order to the time that they're shipping them is about a month. So I always build that into my expectations. That may suck, but it's one of the other keys. Yeah, I don't want to box stuff, but I hate it. I absolutely hate it as a backer when somebody says, we'll ship in June, and then June and July and August and September and October go by. So when I say, so I do the opposite. I under promise and over deliver, right? I'll say on this campaign, I'm saying, oh, you won't get your stuff till December, but the reality is you'll get it within a month of the end of the campaign. And I don't think I've ordered a proof yet because it's not really a done comic, but I think it will. But anyway, I build that expectation of that time into it because I know, it's going to take about a month from the time I place the order to the time that they're shipping. And on the plus side, I mean, the shipping within the US is 2 or 3 days. So that means the majority of backers are going to get their stuff within that time frame. International backers, we can all go to hell, I guess. But it took literally a month for a pack. I do the track the package thing because I'm a nerd. And it's like it took a month almost for a book to get out of the United States. It bounced around to 15 different Florida locations, regional this and district that, before it got on a plane to go to Quebec or whatever. So I don't like the delaying the backers getting their stuff. And so I build that time frame into it. So I'm never promising, well, you'll get it within 2 weeks of the end of the. That's not realistic. But I was just curious if, like, the UK, because if you had something like that and 30% of your money comes in from UK backers, that's great. But if I had access to a print-on-demand service in the UK that shipped directly to backers, I could advertise that in my Kickstarter, drive the shipping prices down, right? So it wouldn't be whatever $30 to send a comic to the UK. It'd be £5 or whatever, right? So you could theoretically extend your US to UK.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that being something that's available, which is not to say it isn't. It's not something I've looked at a lot.
I've looked, and I guess the closest thing that could work is if you have a partnership with somebody between the US and the UK. I'll package the books up and ship them out to whoever and so on. But
there are a couple people that do that. I mean, Lori Foster is the one I know of. I mean, she obviously expects to get some kind of payment out of it, but there are people you could have do that without without the printer doing it if you wanted to have them do it. And they can do a more complicated build probably.
And sometimes just having direct connections with some creators can make sense. But then also like the time and expense of like going through a middleman person, you know, sometimes it's like, okay, well, if I could save, you know, $5 a book or $10 a book, but there's only 3 books, or I could just check this off my list and spend the full freight. Sometimes it's worth just checking it off the list. On the flip side, I know during the pandemic, we had a lot of Australian backers for one project, and the cost of shipping was just through the roof. But there was significant savings to if I could find someone that would be willing to, hey, take a box of stuff and break this down into 15, 20.
Hey, Tim Styles,
backers.
can you do this?
Exactly. That's exactly who helped me out. It was
Tim
Tim.
Styles.
Shout out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it you know, having flexibility and being good at running the calculator and working a spreadsheet can sort of make your decisions better. But so I'm curious, you know, we got a lot of veterans here. Has anyone seen anything particularly cool from either projects you've backed or just looking at what other creators are doing that you're like, oh man, that is definitely something that I want to try, or I wish I could try, or I'd like to try to do? Anybody seen anything cool that they're, you know, just aspirationally trying to want to get to or want to try, or whether it be a product offering or a style of variant cover or an artist to work with?
I see people doing like the Lego minis that are cool, things like that, and plushies and things. But the thing that, holds me back a little is becomes more of a packing issue and a shipping issue. I try and stretch the bounds of what media mail allows, but once you start doing Legos and toys and plushies, you're not getting away with that. It's also more difficult, to pack because I'm doing my own packing. So right. Adding in features like that, but they're always cool, and I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't mind having a little Lego figurine or something like that. But I never know if it's going to work out price wise to cost.
Yeah, I mean, what's nice about the at least the minifigs that we've done. Shout out to Justin over at Saber Scorpion. But he, it's pretty. I think he's pretty reasonable, between $30 and $45 for the prototype for him to make the first one, depending upon the complexity of the model and things like that. So, and then kind of a flat rate for however many you want to make. And I have found that like those are actually pretty easy to include in a Gemini mailer without it messing up stuff. But
that like I think that appeals to me. It wasn't something I'm aware of, but I've just brought up their site. So they do Legos, right?
I don't think they can technically call them Legos. I think they got to call them minifigs.
They look like
but they are using all of that stuff. It's just trademark stuff. They don't want to.
Yeah. Okay.
I would.
I wasn't aware of these. This looks quite cool to me.
Yeah, that was some. I've done a bunch, and I've also it's a fun gift to gift people or to gift yourself. Is like, hey, go make a character, have a minifig made out of one of your characters.
And that's not going to weigh a lot to send.
Yeah, but it definitely for I don't have Roy. Have you done any minifigs with your characters? You have so many.
I had like a half a dozen that Saber Scorpion did, and I sort of offered them. I probably offered them at a too high a price. But these were just what you're calling the prototypes, not like a mass. Like I didn't even think of, the cost is because I figured he's doing them by hand. Why would they be less expensive? But it'd be something I'd want to look into, I guess, if get a quote from them on, it costs this much to do the first one, but the next ones are $10 or whatever. And you could put them in as incentives of, whatever, or like even like, oh, you were the first backer, you get a free, after the fact, you get a free whatever.
Yeah.
Because they are pretty, they're pretty cool. Like when you've got the little minifig of your character, and
Sure.
Yeah.
people I think like them, but I think I had too high a price on whatever one I tried it on, and I had again, when I constructed my ideal demographic, it was old men like me. It was like, 50 plus guys who are trying to remember, you bought comics off the rack in the 70s. And so I had also offered these Fred Hembeck sketch cards. Hembeck was like an artist who, Fred Hembeck destroys the Marvel universe is his big credit. And he had, a strip in the Daily Planet backup thing. And those sold like whatever the opposite of hotcakes are. So,
right. Okay.
I don't know. But you try stuff, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. But it may be less the product and more the how did you present it kind of thing. So
yeah,
it could not work in one campaign, but work in another campaign, right? So
yeah.
I can definitely say
action figures would be like the greatest thing, but those are so expensive to get a prototype and to mass market them.
Yeah.
I mean, with these not Legos, how many is like the minimum you'd have to have done?
I mean, for Justin at Saber Scorpion, the prototype is 1. so
yeah,
he'll do 1 for you.
But
That'll cost you. It'll cost you full prototype rate. But then usually each additional one after that is usually like 60% of the cost of the first one. So it's still like they're not cheap, right? Like so, I think the Mr. Dig one that I was doing, we sold for 35. They were costing us like 16 a piece, and we were kind of like purchasing to order almost. So yeah, not from a dollar percentage or from a dollar standpoint, decent. It's not massive. Not tremendous
like
margins. It's not
to produce, right?
Right, but it helps. Visually, it would always stand out and look cool.
Yeah.
It reinforces people's fandom, in a way that you got a figure of something, like it's another way to make sure that person comes back for the next one. And it's just fun to offer and fun to make. So
yeah. Cool.
But so I would think though, Roy, with your like just having the Sentinels as or it could be something where like each campaign you're just rolling out one new one, and maybe it's not a big money maker in terms of profit margins, but it's kind of a cool thing that then you sell the collector's set each campaign, so you might get a few takers on them. And because it's like, at least with Saber Scorpion, I don't think he has any minimums, which is cool.
Has anybody found value in using a high-end cover artist? I've done a couple, well, maybe 1 or 2. Greg Bell Watson is fairly well known for his covers, and I didn't really find that it paid off real well. But recently, I know one creator, she had a very expensive cover artist who does good drawings of good-looking women, and she had her main heroine drawn by him for a cover, and I think it really paid off for her. But that seems to be the only time I really have seen it directly was that case. So I didn't know if you mentioned Fred Henbeck didn't really pay off for you, so I didn't know if you, Tyler, or anyone else had any experience where that spending big on a cover paid off. I think she paid like $900 for the cover, which is a lot, but I think her Kickstarter went into the low 5 figures probably because of that.
So did you say go on, sorry.
I haven't gone with a big name artist because I am completely out of touch with who anyone would consider a big name artist these days. I partnered up with some other people. We released a comic series called Power Company, and we had Jason Metcalf, who I guess is a sort of a name draw, and that sold reasonably well. And I'm planning on an issue next year with a cover drawn by Rick Hoberg, who worked for Marvel and worked for DC and worked on DC's All-Star Squadron and that sort of thing. It ties into the book, but I don't think that, from my perspective, there'd be a payoff enough to offset the cost of a super hot artist that you're going to spend X dollars on. But again, I guess it comes down to the marketing and advertising for that.
Yeah, I think a big thing, if you've got a big artist with a big following and they promote their cover, then that's going to do something. Some artists don't really do anything in terms of promotion or do the minimum. But if you've got someone that's into it and their Instagram following hears about it, I think that can't not help. A thing I did, Sun Kumanaki, who's a fantastic artist, had her do the Geek Girl 5-issue cover, which is a great image. Now, what I've been able to do with that, because that wasn't cheap, I always do like a Sun Kumanaki collector's pack. So I have like her prints available as well, which having her done that cover, and that's a jump on issue, gives us the context to put other Sun Kumanaki product up with it. So there are things that can come from it that aren't literally just about, are you going to make, your money back off that? But I think in terms of, are you going to make your money back, it is a massive help if you've got an artist that's going to showcase that cover.
Yeah. For Comics Tribe, we haven't done a ton of like cover of huge name cover chasing. It's more been like, who are the creators that we're sort of going to plan on being connected with over the long term. And so one thing that I like to do is, like, we've got a bunch of different titles, but I like to, if there's an artist that we're working on one thing, want to get him on a cover for something else so that we can then cross promote the two properties and the two, and so investing in the artist that's we're working with, and the stable of artists. So you'll see a lot of like the same artists on different projects, even if they're not the main artist on that project, but just because we want to keep them current, and we want to build the collector base for their art. But occasionally, for some of our books, Happy Hill was an example. Like, we had the nice thing about having an artist that is also like the co-creator and really involved in it is that artists know other artists. And so Joe was able to actually get some really good artists that he's friendly with to work at a decent rate or to do cover swaps or something like that. So we actually were able to, get top name talent to do a few covers, but not have to pay like the top premium out of pocket rates to get those covers. So that was cool. But yeah, finding the artist that is both really great, or that is really great, just so they're going to make a quality project, and they're going to make a quality cover out of it, is aligned with your book, so that like fans of their work would also like your work. And then also that artist is has a big social media following and a big audience that they are able to promote to and willing to promote to. Having all of those things line up, and then having it not be an astronomical fee to get that person on board can definitely be tough to swing.
Sure.
Tony says, wow, 900 is quite a lot for a cover. The most I've spent on one is $400 for a cover from Marcus Williams, which I sell for $30 each, and people are willing to pay for it. Marcus has done work for Marvel as well as his own indie book, Tuskegee Heirs. All right, yeah. Well, so shout out for Marcus Williams for a somewhat affordable. Yeah, I mean, like, different books, there's all sorts of different price sensitivities and things, and how much you want to put into the book, the variant cover budget, and pulling on a guest artist. The other thing is, like, and I've talked to, or I've seen from some creators, like, Cat Calamia, Phil Falco, they went and they reached out to when they jumped in and did the book Beast and Snow. Like they were like, all right, we're going all in on this thing. We think this could be a big deal. And they went and they reached out to, I think, Stefan Sepchik, who is, massive following, but also massive following in the not safe for work comic space, sort of crushed it in that space under the radar. And he's like, one of the top people doing that kind of thing. And so they did that. And then they also, on top of that, did a big investment in terms of paid advertising and other advertising to make sure that people know that this book is out there. Cause that's the thing. Like if you're going to drop $900 on a big name cover, well, you also want to say, well, do I have the reach with my own audience?
Yeah.
So that, or do I have the marketing ability so that I can let that big name artist's audience know that this thing exists? Because if they're not going to, be actively promoting it, well, then you're sort of inviting the extra work to how do I let that artist's audience know that this thing exists? Because if you don't do it and you just like hope they discover it buried on your Kickstarter page, you're probably going to be not happy with the return on it. But that's something to know is like, all right, well, I'm investing in this big artist. Well, that also means in addition to the $900, I might want to put another $900 at least into advertising that cover specifically to, in places that it could hit.
I think in this case, the artist had like close to 200,000 Instagram followers, and he did put it up on his Instagram page. So, you know, a lot of people saw it, probably thousands of people saw it and liked it.
Well, and that's something, if I was negotiating with an artist, or if I was an artist negotiating with creators for that $900 page rate, you bet I would be including in my sort of pitch to potential people hiring me, I would be saying, hey, in addition to providing you a top-notch piece of art, I'm also willing to do X, Y, and Z. And so if I'm an artist, to raise my rates, if I had that kind of following, I would be including that. And if I'm a creator, I would actually, if I'm going to pay those kinds of rates, I would ask to get in writing, hey, here specifically, I'd like a launch day promotion on this channel that looks like this and includes this. I would want, maybe something in the mid campaign and then a closing. I would try to get as much as I could, or at least negotiate that stuff so that you increase the chances that you're going to get a return on that.
Yeah.
Well, this is good stuff, folks. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me, and this was a good conversation about all things. I want to give everybody a chance to say, to give one more pitch or point out one more cool thing about the project that they want to point people towards. Maybe we'll start in reverse order this time. Ben, Samson's 1 through 2, Escape from Auschwitz. Right now, you're past that pivotal 50% point, or closing it on 50%.
Yeah, closing it.
a little on it, sorry. But you're over the 30% point, which means 90% funding chance is cleared. So you're probably at like 95, 97%, but in a lot of time on the clock. So, but what do you want to point us to for Samson?
Yeah, this is a book that everybody who's read it has liked it. You can see the reviews at the bottom. It's an ongoing superhero series, a little different than your normal superhero series. If you're a fan of like Captain America, the Winter Soldier version by Ed Brubaker, or Alan Moore's Miracle Man, I think you'd really like this. It's a more adult, somewhat darker take on a superhero while still having superhero action and a superhero line story. And it's still got 28 days to go, so plenty of time to back. You can get issues 1 and 2. And you read issue 1 for free. You can just download it, read it, send it to your friends if you want. I don't have a problem with that. I'm trying to get as many eyeballs on it as possible.
Yeah, Ben's not hiding the ball here at all. You can go read the first issue off his Kickstarter page, and then come grab physical copies of the first 2. Sam Johnson, Gold Town. What do you want to point out? What do you want to highlight for the masses.
Well, what I want to point out is what I'm just about to start pushing is our stretch goal, which we're just under $100 short of hitting, where everyone gets Sync 1. So you may have heard this before. If killer clowns prowl the streets in a blue van, a shovel-wielding vigilante in a fox mask serves brutal justice after dark, and the last bus home is full of corpses, well, pal, that was me more in the Scottish accent, you must be in sync, Hal. So it's a good companion book to Gold Town. The high concept of Sync being a forgotten East End district of a warped funhouse mirror vision of Glasgow, Scotland. Sync Hills are home for crooks, deviants, and killers, and ordinary folk unfortunate enough to live among them. And yeah, Gold Town is a Hollywood upside down place of a similar ilk. So I think a good combination, and this is kind of where that campaign's at. I'm about to get on. Pushing that. So if we hit just another $100, everyone gets Sync 1 as well.
Very cool. Yeah. And finding ways to reward the backers that are rewarding you throughout the campaign is a good one. And doing creative cross promotions with other fine titles is definitely a good idea. So appreciate you thinking of Sync, and hopefully some new backers discover that series when they're supporting yours. And then rounding us out, Roy, the Sentinels 1 through 11 is available. What else you want to call out?
Yeah, if you're looking for some Bronze Age superhero team fun, this is the book for you. There's also the ability to catch up with back issues. I think we've sold out the villain spots, but there's still the opportunity to have your character drawn by a professional artist. If you've got a creation that's been kicking around and you draw like a drunken donkey like I do, you can have some pro bring it to life in a way that you'd be proud to, display. And yeah, that's kind of the situation.
I love it. Well, gentlemen, it's been great chatting with you, talking old school comics to new, and I appreciate y'all continuing to do your thing. Ben, what?
No, I was just waving by. I thought we were signing off, so I was about to just say goodbye.
Okay, I thought like, oh my God, I forgot something. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I appreciate folks tuning in. Josh Riley, Tony. We had Hembeck, or a Hembeck shout out, Atlantic Sci-Fi, Grant Lankard tuned in, Dust Bunny Mafia. Exciting to just connect with everybody live while we're on here. Just a quick note, I will be back tomorrow with another crew. I have Will Allred, Eric Warfield, and Nick Bryan joining me for a great discussion on Friday. So tune in, same bad time, same bad channel here at Comics Launch. But for everybody else tuning in, thank you for watching the stream, and we can't wait to see what you all lunch next. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
The Comics Launch Planner is going to give you a roadmap so you can launch confidently, whether this is your first campaign or you've launched a bunch. Hey, I'm George O'Connor. I've kickstarted 10 projects raising over $50,000, and Comics Launch is a big reason for my success. Tyler has studied Kickstarter for over a decade, and he's going to help you avoid pitfalls and give you the best insights to make sure that you and your project shine on the platform. He's also going to help you with the mental aspect so you can stay sharp and positive and professional throughout the entire launch. This planner is going to give you the tips and insights Tyler's created from over the years of studying the platform and helping hundreds of people launch their projects. As someone who's been with Tyler since the beginning of Comics Launch and has absolutely benefited from his insights and trainings, I cannot recommend the Comics Launch Planner enough.
I've been using the tools from Comics Launch since 2020 to run all these successful Kickstarter campaigns. When it comes to running a Kickstarter, I never thought I could do it until I started using Tyler's tools and tips and tricks. He really has this great way of putting everything together and making it so easy to tackle. So something big and challenging like a Kickstarter campaign becomes really easy to do when it's broken down into these steps. My name is Melissa J. Massey, purveyor of fine fantasy comics and tragic shenanigans. I would recommend this to anyone who wants to launch a book or a comic on Kickstarter. It really breaks down the process and helps you to position yourself well so that you can stand out and deliver a fantastic book to your audience. I mean, the results don't lie, and the pile's getting a little hard to hold, so check out the ComixLaunch Planner. It's going to be the best investment you make for yourself and for your creative business.
Before ComixLaunch, I struggled to raise $3,000 on my first campaign. And since joining ComixLaunch, I have raised more than $370,000 across more than 30 campaigns. That's a huge difference. It's quantifiable. Hey everybody, it's Clay Adams. I'm the writer of Blazing Blade of Frankenstein, Dream Quest, co-writer of Carmilla Unbound, Prodigal Son, and co-editor of the Nightmare Theater horror anthology. I wish I had this planner years ago. Tyler, what are you doing? Get on this. Start shipping these things out. Can we just skip the campaign? Let's go.